Okay, so basically, I asked Kareem to help me ask some questions today, rather than just doing like an hour just chat at you guys, because it's kind of boring. Hopefully, this will be a bit more engaging, it'll be a bit more interesting. And then afterwards, at the end, you guys can ask any questions. The whole point of the reason why I wanted to do this talk was because, like, hey man, like the reason why I wanted to do this talk was because, like, everyone at uni is always looking for jobs, right? Any event that people go to is always like consulting or investment banking or engineering, or it's some kind of grad event, because everyone's looking, to find out what they're going to do after they're done. But there isn't these kind of things for the kind of niche things, right? Like the games industry. And I really wanted to get this talk out of the way so that I can try and convince you guys, or at least show you how you might get into the games industry. Because I've been there, it's awesome. It's not as impossible as you might think it is, or as impossible as everyone seems to think it is when I talk to them. And yeah, hopefully you can get some confidence to go for it, because it's pretty cool. So I just
All right, okay. So let's just rewind to last summer.
Yeah.
Okay, so why exactly did you go to work at Riot? What made you want to work at Riot?
Why did I want to? Okay, so last summer I was looking at I was in my second year. I was looking at what I can do in terms of job, opportunities, like getting internships, right? Yeah. Because you guys all know as well, everyone in the second year at UCL especially is always looking for job internships. They always say you've got to get experience now if you want to get a job in your third year. So I was doing the same thing, but being an economics student, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of people who want to get into the very mainstream ones in London, right? Like consulting, like investment banking, and there was a big pressure towards doing that, and I just really didn't want to do it because I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't interested at all. I'd never really been interested since first and second year, so I was just thinking to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do for an internship, or what I could do afterwards. I had the same mindset of I'm an economics student. I like to play League of Legends. I love playing games. I play 3 or 4 games a day or something. It's crazy. But I'm probably not going to get a job doing this, right? Because I don't do coding. I don't do game design. I don't do any of this stuff that I kind of thought you needed to do to work in a games company. So to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I kind of accepted that. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I started this esports society with Jimmy and some other guys last year, and we did this because I was like, I just want to do what I enjoy, right? This esports society and gaming and stuff was really interesting for me. I just enjoyed it, and that was it. I didn't know if I was going to get anything out of it. I was just like, let's do this. I have some fun with this, and at least, worst case scenario, I've had a good experience I really enjoyed. And that eventually led me to seeing the Riot Games internship application opening around, I think it was October or November sometime. I jumped on this opportunity the moment it was released because obviously I'd already been looking for internship opportunities, but there wasn't anything that was interesting. This was one of the only undergrad opportunities that you could get at any games company. I'd searched for Ubisoft, Blizzard, all these big companies, and generally they only give you graduate opportunities, right, when you're already finished with uni. Yeah. This was the only one that I could find, at least, and that I was interested in for undergrad. So I jumped on this, and that was the reason why I went for it.
Oh, that's cool. So okay, well, I do computer science, so it's kind of obvious what I go to do and what I'd be working on at Riot. Mm-hmm. So, but if you were doing a course management or maybe some other engineering course, can you give advice to them on how they would want to get into working at Riot? So if you were maybe management or something.
Right. So I think there are 2 parts to this question. One is you're doing computer science management or something like this, right? Yeah. So it's kind of, how does your degree relate to it? I don't know if you guys have heard before, but if you've been to any investment banking talks or something, they immediately tell you, a lot of people always ask, I'm a biology student, I'm a medicine student, can I still apply for this internship? Can I still have a job in this doing, working in investment bank or consulting or something? And they always say, yeah, we take everyone. We take a history student, we take art students, anything, right? And it's totally the same case. Actually, to work in the games industry, you don't have to do programming. to work in it, right? In fact, in the Riot Dublin office, which is like the biggest one for Europe, it's all publishing. All of the game design is done in America. So actually, like, they have, 150 people, something around like 150 people working there, and none of them are doing anything to do with game design. They're all doing the stuff that supports, the community, the website, all this other stuff around publishing. And then if you go look at the Berlin office, that's esports, completely esports, right? Nothing to do with game design again. That's all to do with, getting this world events going, getting all these like, looking after the players and all this professional esports stuff going. So actually, the industry is really big. It's like, and that's what we're seeing with the whole esports push, right? Games are becoming more than just playing the games,
Yeah.
And there's like a whole load of other jobs and things that you can do within the industry that isn't to do with making the game.
Okay. Alright, let's get into like the really fun questions. So what was it like, so while you were there, what was it like working at Riot?
It was like badass.
Okay.
I mean, let me just put it out there, like, you think it's gonna be cool. Like, I guess, have you ever like thought about working at Google? Have you?
Yeah.
So like, what do you think of Google then? What do you imagine it'd be like working there?
Well, I've been to like the offices, and so you have a look at the offices, and you kind of get like a feel of like the culture is like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, free snacks. Kind of flexible working hours as long as you work like you finish what you're assigned each week.
Yeah.
Loads of different perks as well. So like if you're in the bigger offices, like free transportation to like the Google offices.
Yeah.
If you're an intern, they put you in like really nice accommodation.
Yeah, right. That's a good point, right? It's the culture. And let me just put out there, like, Riot Games was, I think it was ranked 13th in Forbes best companies to work at list this year.
Okay.
In the whole world. And it's totally true, right? The culture is so amazing. It's one of the only companies that has like a very Google-esque culture, in the sense that you've got flexible working hours, you've got lots of those perks where you can, for example, you can play games while you're working, right? A lot of people play games, like 2 or 3 games a day, and you can come into the office at 11 a.m. That's what I was doing on some of the days, right? Play a few games, then you get to work, and you play a few games again later in the day when you're a bit tired. It's all super flexible, and like that's like a really nice perk that you kind of think, oh man, that's pretty cool. Like I don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. every day and go in at 9, finish at 5, and like get super bummed out about work. And yeah, it's super true. It's in that sense, it's the same as Google. It's very similar.
Yeah.
And the other side of it is, well, it's not just fun and games, right? And the culture is really good for, even if you outside of those really obvious, it's kind of relaxing and kind of fun things. The work culture is really good because at Riot Games, the culture is super strong. You go through like 4 or 5 interviews or something before you get taken on. That was for an internship. I think it's for the actual job, it's the same, you have like 7 interviews or something, right? You get interviewed by literally everyone in the company, or everyone from each department, because they want to make sure that when they take someone on, it's not just someone who's gonna do the job well, it's gonna be someone who gets on with every single team and every single person there, because that's just how important it is to working there. Like it's true that if you can't integrate into the culture, it's super hard to work at Riot, and that's like, it's a good and a bad thing, right? If you fit in with it, then it's awesome, right? And you get on really well with people. But if you don't, and it's not like it's not necessarily a bad thing for people, because it's a totally radical culture, completely different to most other companies out there.
Yeah. You just mentioned the application process. So how was the application process for you?
The application. So for the internship, there was like, I think I had 3 Skype interviews. I had one which was the Skype interview talking about your CV, very general stuff, and then I had 2 where I was doing project management. So I had 2 interviews with project managers at Riot, and then I had another on-site where they flew me over to Dublin to the office, and that was like a day of interviews. It was super intense. I think I was like 4 or 5 interviews on the day. It was just interview day, and that was it. So yeah, it was pretty intense. So I can only say for project management. So the first interview is, it's like every single general interview, looking at your CV, what are your weaknesses, like, how have you, what kind of accomplishments you've done. There's all those general stuff. There's no rebound, like kind of curveballs or anything like that. You don't need to worry about that. It's all like, if you prepare for it, you'll probably be fine for it. The interviews for project management were a little bit more specific. So they asked, for example, they gave you example situations, right? They want to test, if we take you on, this is the kind of situations you're going to have to deal with, right, in reality. And so they put you in this like kind of hypothetical problem or something and say, how do you deal with it, right? And there isn't any right answer. I just put it out straight. There's no right answer. They're looking for how you answer it, right? The way that you think about it, what kind of things you bring up, and the way that you talk to the person, right? And I guess this ties back into the culture. I think one of the things I was very conscious of was when I was preparing for the interview, I knew that Riot has a very team-orientated culture. Okay, so it's never cool to just say, oh, like this guy did really bad, it's his fault. That's not cool at all. So I think like one of the questions was kind of if you have this kind of problem with someone who isn't achieving or isn't doing up to standards or whatever, right? You have a reliance on someone else, right? How do you deal with this? And I was very conscious of, remembering, okay, well, I definitely wouldn't be wanting to say put the blame on someone else. Like I should be thinking about, how do I, what's this problem? Why is it that this person isn't able to do this job? Is there something blocking them, right? It's a very supportive mindset that you have to have. When you have problems, which you inevitably will, because that's just what life is like. Rather than taking the this is my side, this is your side, you fucked up, like this is your fault. It's like, oh, we're all one big team. But even though you're in web design or something, right, and I'm in project management, I'm still trying to think about, well, how do I support you? How do I help you to figure out what the problem is, and how do I help you to solve for that? Yeah, so if you're like project manager, it's really worth it to like read up on the culture, right? The culture, right? Yeah, I think more generally it comes back to they want to test that you're going to be able to do the job, right? So that was like a very project management related one. Yeah, I know that, for example, for info security, this was a different internship. They gave you some coding questions, right? So they had some problems with if you have this kind of security problem or something like that, like how do you do this? It is literally like there are no curveballs. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to always remember at the interview, it's like they want to make sure that you're going to be the right guy for the job, right? For the job. There's no like, oh, they want to test how much you know or anything like this. No, they just want to know that they know what kind of stuff you're going to be doing, and they want to see, well, how do you do with this? So if you're going to prepare for it, like research up on your job. Don't look at what the studies and all that stuff tells you about it. Look at what you actually will be doing for the job, right? Yeah. Look at the problems that people are facing and the kind of things that people do every day when they do this job. And then, try and solve some of it, right? Try and put yourself in that situation, and that's going to be the best preparation. Definitely. Dan, tell us, a bit, of what you actually did, right? Like, anything we might have seen? Okay, so, I was working on two teams. Yeah. One was the Battlegrounds team, and one was the Growth team. There's a new initiative that isn't out yet right now, but it should be out pretty soon. So I don't know, did you play Battlegrounds last year? It was a tournament system by Riot Games. Oh, I saw that. Right? Okay, so you... Yeah, I'm sure I actually played in that. Yeah, it was a really open national tournament across many European countries. So I joined their team to help PM them, and my role as a PM was basically not to necessarily do the produce the tournaments, produce the weapons, all that stuff. The PM things I kind of I had to look about. It was always, how do I bring value to the team? There was a team of I think there's about 4 people or something working on Battlegrounds. So I was really focused on trying to look at how the team was working, look at the dependencies, look at the what kind of relations they have with other people, what are the dependencies, and try to solve for it, right? Try to isolate what kind of things might be blocking the team from achieving what they're doing, and help them to make sure that it will go smoothly, basically. Okay. So, all right. So next question. If you're anything like me, I'm
very casual.
Okay.
I don't even play ranked. So do you have to play League to get into Riot? Do you have to be Diamond?
Okay, no.
Okay.
This is probably one of the most popular questions there.
Alright.
You don't have to be good at League. I was silver 3 or something when I applied, I think.
Yeah.
So I was really bad. And also, you don't have to be playing for long. Like a lot of people say, I played for 4 years or something, like since the beta or something. I've only played for 2 years, if not less. So I haven't played for long. I'm not very good at the game, and I still need to get in there. And to be honest, it doesn't matter to some extent, right? So one example is if you apply for a job there and you've never played the game before, and it does happen actually. A lot of people who work at Riot didn't play the game when they were employed, right? Because to be honest, at the end of the day, you have to go to the job to work there, right? It's no good if you play the game but you don't have them, you're not the best at your job and you're not really producing value for Riot. So the most important thing at the end of the day is, can you do the job, right? And that's why sometimes, to be honest, it doesn't matter if you play the game or not. But what does matter is that you have to be willing to try it out, and you have to actually enjoy it, right? So at every interview, I know that when they take someone on, and inevitably there are a lot of senior people who have very high up in the roles, and have never played a game before, right? Because it's such a niche thing, it's quite new, right? So it's, imagine like a senior graphic designer who's been working for 10 years or something, he's probably not played League of Legends before, right? He's been working for the past 10 years. But it doesn't mean that they don't want him. So what they do is, if you've got the skills and you've got the right attitude, they do ask you to say, well, can you try out a game, right? Try out a game 1 week, and then they re-interview or something, or test you again later. Have a seat. So so they want to make sure that you do try out the game. You're not someone who's just there for the money. You're not just someone who's there because, oh right, wow, this company is really big now. They're really big in esports scene. I kind of want to join them. Right? You do have to try out the game. You have to you have to honestly enjoy it, but you don't have to be good at it. I think that's the really important thing.
Alright. What if you don't play League, but you still want to get into the gaming industry? So can you tell us what kind of options are there?
I mean, does anyone here who plays League? First of all, put your hands up so I can see. So who's here to kind of find out how to get into the gaming industry, not necessarily at Riot? Okay, cool. So this is something I really want to push as well, which is so Riot's a really big company, and there are not that many big companies out there, right? Valve, Blizzard, some of these things. Do you have to get into a big company to work in the gaming industry? And is how viable is it to actually make a career out of this? I think that something that I found out from talking to a lot of Rioters is that the gaming industry is actually close knit. There are so many people who worked at Riot from other games companies, and when you talk to them, you kind of find out, whoa, this guy knows someone from Ubisoft, and he then knows someone from CCP, and then he knows someone from Blizzard or something. The gaming industry is actually pretty small, and so if you're interested in it, it's really important to make sure you build up those relations, and also it's not that important to get necessarily into the big companies, right? To be honest, I think the most important thing is that you have to enjoy, you have to want to be in the games industry, you have to enjoy it, and be really interested in the industry, obviously, and you have to be interested in the company that you work at, right? It's always possible to get into some small company, some startup or something, right? And get that experience, and then eventually transfer over to one of the bigger companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, did I answer that question, or was there something more?
No, that's fine. That's fine, I think. So, next question: what if you don't have the skills or experience just yet to get into the gaming industry? What advice do you have for the people like that?
Just do what you can at uni. So that was exactly the same situation I was in 2 years ago, 1 year ago, even before I started the society. I didn't have any experience. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't even think it was possible to get into the gaming industry. I only did the society because we started this before the internship was even open. I didn't think, this internship is open, I'm going to start the society to do this. No, that's the wrong mindset, right? What you should be doing is I'm interested in gaming, I'm interested in doing something, so therefore I want to do things related to it, right? That's something that was really important actually, was that I before, when I applied for this internship, I also had I had some internship experience previously at a different company, doing information analytics. That didn't matter at all. In that company I made like some 7 million or something pounds for the company, and didn't care. What they cared about was my society work, hosting viewing parties, organizing teams, they want to see that, this guy is actually interested in our company, our game, what we do, and this industry. That's the most important thing, and you can show that through just doing things, right? It doesn't have to be at a professional level. You can be at uni, and you should take your opportunities while you can, to
That's cool.
Get involved in stuff.
So right about now is when, I think the Riot applications have already opened.
Yeah.
So I guess right now is the time to apply, and from a lot of the game companies as well, this is pretty much the right period to start applying. So what can you do to make your application stand out? So I assume they get like thousands of applications.
Yeah. It's really hard. It is.
Yeah.
But for me at least, I think it was my initiative to get out there, start society, and start doing these things and push for a lot of things that got me through to it. And I would say you don't need to start society, obviously, because we already got one. But what you should do is just get involved with it. Through UCL, if you're applying for the esports internship, for example, get involved with team management, right? We have that. We have open positions for managing a team, for dealing with players. This is the exact kind of experience that they're looking for when you apply for player manager at Riot Games, literally right now for this internship, right? And it's like it's not hard to do it. All you have to do is get in touch with myself or something like that, right? But what if you're applying for Blizzard or something else? You can still do university stuff. You can still get in touch with esports society. Like, we're super open. We're always open to help people to start their own ideas or whatever if they want to do this. But you don't have to do it at uni either. I'm sure if you search, online or on the Blizzard forums or whatever, there are people out there who really love the game and they're looking to do projects or something, right? Start your own project, do something that you're interested in, and that's gonna really show up on your CV. Put it out there, show it off, and make sure you talk about all the things that you learned about, why you love it so much, and make sure you get your passion across, because that's what's gonna stand out.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm gonna open the floor right now. So, do any of you have any questions to ask Dan while you're here?
When are you posting the video?
Yeah. We'll put the video up online.
Nice.
Jonas?
How did this experience influence your outlook to the future and your career plans? Do you intend to go back to Riot?
Yeah, this was a big eye-opener for me. This was probably the best experience of my life, in the sense that, honestly, I was really lost as to what I want to do with my life, or a career path, before I did this internship. And since then, because I've always been, we're all gamers here. We all enjoy it, but we've never thought of it as a real path out of uni. And I think the reality is that actually, we come from one of the best universities out there. We all love it. We have that passion and initiative, right? That's how we get into UCL. We're perfect candidates for getting in the game industry. And if we really love it, you should do that, right? You should pursue your passion and make sure that when you spend the next 50 years working in something, it's something that you actually enjoy. And that's the biggest thing that I got out of it, is that I'm really determined now to get into the gaming industry or get back into Riot, and work at a company. In this case, work on League of Legends. Work at this awesome company that's called Riot, and make sure that I'm really spending every day working, and not just working, but doing something that I love. So that's probably the biggest thing for me, is that it's changed my outlook on what's out there, and I hope that hopefully from this talk you guys realize you go back home, you start considering your options. Do I really want to be doing X, Y, Z, or actually am I more interested in this? Am I more interested in gaming, or am I more interested in tech or whatever, right? And really look at what opportunities are out there, and even if it's the tiniest thing, like, grab it and work harder and see what comes out of it. I think that's the biggest thing as well. When I started this esports society, there were really at the beginning there wasn't anything that I was gonna get out of it. I could have spent 2 years doing this and then not had any experience, like not have any work experience at a company, and then not have any clue what I could do afterwards. But sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to grasp at the little roots that you have, and just see what comes out of it. And yeah, it's a little bit risky. It is, because it's the market is not as big as banking. They take on hundreds of
like thousands of applications.
yeah. So yeah, there are small opportunities, but I think that there are more opportunities than you might expect. So yeah, I've taken that away from it anyway.
So any other questions? All right.
I hope you're not repeating this because I came late, but how competitive is it to get this sort of internship? I mean, I'm coming I'm just starting my computer science degree, so I'm probably looking at the technology side of it, and I love League of Legends, and I have looked at the application process and whatnot, and then they said we get 20,000 applications per year, and then we only take 34. So even though this is gaming industry is growing, at the same time it's very competitive. So what do you think someone should do to stand out in the crowd in a way?
Yeah, get involved. Are you first?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, get involved with esports. Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're doing, right? So if you're applying for, it doesn't make sense to get involved with esports if you want to do tech design necessarily, right? It helps for sure, but it really, for example, if you want to go for the esports roles that are open for Berlin right now, you should definitely be getting involved with esports right now, right? But if you're interested in doing design, game design, all that stuff, right? Get involved with making games.
I think Riot's really quite interested, especially if you're doing computer science anyway, because I do computer science. If you can actually show that you can ship software, exactly, to a sort of professional degree. So if you've had previous experience, maybe in another company shipping software, Riot has an API which they've just released. I think either last year. I think there's a 2.0 out now. Working with that would be amazing. I think they love people getting feedback on that, and people using the data that they have collected from all the games, just showing something cool, doing cool stuff with that. That really helps. So at least with computer science anyway.
I think a few years ago they took the interns that they took in America for the coding or whatever. I can't remember the exact position. He was someone who made LOL King, right? One of the biggest League of Legends sites, and that's exactly what they're looking for, is people who've shown that they're not just interested but actually doing stuff, right? The reason why they took that guy, as opposed to anything else, is because when they employ him, that's the kind of stuff that he's going to be doing, right? They know from what he's done, this guy's already got the coding skills, he's shipped it, he's shown that this works, he's made it successful. That's exactly what we want him to do when we employ him. So let's take this guy, right? And that's the important thing, is to demonstrate that you've got the skills and you're doing stuff that you would be doing when you're working there anyway. We mentioned this earlier as well, but that is get involved with making things and showing off, developing your own skills, and really producing things that can show, hey, look at me, I've actually done this, right? I'm not just talking about theoretically I learned this, I can do this and whatever, I've done this.
There's anything outside that can show your coding abilities. So, and maybe working on open source projects, maybe starting your own open source project using the Riot API, anything like that.
So I was wondering if you could give me a breakdown of the Riot office locations and what the specific offices are doing. For example, not everybody here would be suitable for project management, and as a tech person myself, I was wondering if I should even bother applying, for example, for Berlin, if maybe all the game dev is somewhere else. So could you give me an overview of where the different people are and which career paths?
So game dev is pretty hard, right? All of the development is done in America for Riot, and so to be honest, it is pretty hard if you want to do the actual dev side of stuff. What was I gonna say?
Publishing's in Dublin.
Yeah, so Dublin is publishing. Berlin is esports. There's one in Brighton that is media. I can't remember what it was exactly. And they have a few country offices in Turkey and stuff like this. But those are the kind of three main options here. It's like Dublin, Berlin, and Brighton.
Are the Canada offices also game dev?
Which ones?
The Canada offices, the ones in let's see, is that one in Quebec or?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Alright.
But yeah, the main part of the website is on in LA, the central office, and they're not taking. It's very hard for non-Americans because at least last year they specifically said we're not going to take any interns unless you can work in America or you can sort your own American visa out. They're not going to pay for your visa to work there. So it is pretty hard to get into Riot Games at least. Does that mean you shouldn't apply for Berlin, for example? I would say probably not if you're interested in game dev, but if you're honestly interested in esports and stuff, still go for it. Like, it definitely makes sense to go for that. If you want to get into game dev at Riot eventually, it's not impossible, right? But you just wouldn't get it through the internship. Probably your best bet is to find some kind of European company, get the experience, get 1 or 2 years of experience, keep applying, and that's probably the best way.
So about that as well. So how is Riot with like accommodation, like during internships? Exactly. Do they sponsor accommodation? Do they have accommodation that you can stay in? Or?
Yeah. So the internship for Dublin was like awesome. Everything is you get your wage, you have accommodation paid for. Very very nice flat, like 100 times better than your student flats here. And you do have to pay for your food and all that stuff, right? And transport and things. But I mean, to be honest, you get a really good wage that you can definitely live off of. Like for example, I was paying for my London rent on top of living in Dublin when I was there. So I only got about 30 or 40% of my wage. Probably about 30% of my wage to spend. And I still had money to spend. So it's totally fine, definitely.
Anyone?
Yeah. Can you tell us something about the people you work with, their roles, like what do they do, positions?
Specific people?
Why not? Like, name the top 5 you work with. You don't have to say their name, just a position, what do they do?
Okay, so I was working in project management. There are about I think 6 or 7 project managers there. Apart from that, they also had some people who managed the website of things, the website and all the content that goes up on there. There's a really big community team. Most of the major countries that Riot supports, every supported country has at least one person working on it. So the community team is really big. They have I don't know, maybe 14 or 15 people there, just managing the communities. Player support have a massive team, absolutely enormous. I think it's probably more than 20 or something people working on player support. And then there's also localization in the Dublin office to make sure that when they release articles and whatever, it's all translated into into the right language and all that stuff. That department is also really big. There's a lot of I can't think of any more right now. But if you get anything out of it, I hope you realize that there's a lot of things that you might not have ever thought about, right? Localization, player support, community work. It's kind of jobs that you kind of don't even realize exist, but they do. And
So do you get to hang out with the other interns quite a lot then?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I lived with 3 other interns. Well, I lived with one other, and then the other 2 had their own flat, and we hung out every week. It was really awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, obviously it depends on what kind of interns you get, but at least for us, I had some pretty awesome guys to live with, and
that's cool.
Good.
Tell us a bit more about. So loads of different companies have different rules to about how many hours they expect you to work per day or per week or whatever. Tell us about how much you expect to work at Riot.
Yeah, I was contracted for 8 hours a day, and generally you should get there 11 to 7. I think that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So, but you don't. It's you should, But sometimes you have off days. Sometimes people leave an hour or so earlier or whatever. It's just the important thing is to not take advantage of that, right? The reason why the work culture works is because everyone is dedicated. You have that flexibility because if you have to do it because you're not feeling well or whatever, like, you're allowed to do it. I think that's the important thing to take into account. But it's not a free ride, right?
Yeah.
It's not there to be abused. And actually, typically, like, I was working typically more than 8 hours a day, right? Because there was just so much to do, and I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people also like that. A lot of people work more than 8 hours a day because not because they're paid to do it or they're expected to do it, but because they care about their job, they care about the results, and they're there to get the job done. Example is I was doing some video editing at the end of the internship. I was there until about 12 p.m. for a full 2 weeks or something. When I arrived around like 10 or 9:30 a.m. So I was doing like super hard days when I had to. But that's not, again, there's no expectation on me to do that. That was because I wanted to get a job done. And I was really determined to put in the time to do it.
That's cool. So back to the floor. Does anyone else want to ask anything?
Yeah, so as you said, more traditional career paths. One of the most attractive things about them is the wages and the opportunities inside the industry.
Yeah.
So how does working in Riot or any other gaming or in the gaming industry itself compare to that?
Yeah. Okay, well, it depends on what you're comparing to. At Riot, you're going to get a good wage for what you're doing, like a really good wage. And it's probably one of the best companies in terms of how they treat their employees. They really care about you at Riot. And it's not just the wage, right? It's the culture. You know, that's why you have such flexibility. That's why they put so much trust in you to manage yourself. And you have so much freedom. It's because they really trust their employees. Not only that, they're always looking to develop you. When I was there, like, my manager they have like activities and things to make sure that you're developing. Like, we had a book reading club on project management skills, for example. I got 4 days of training with certificates out of it, and that's for free. I'm like an intern, right? So they're always looking to develop their people, and they treat you really well, and they want you to stay. They want you to love your job and to stay there. I can't say about any other companies, but definitely Riot is higher than the average for gaming companies. So
for other like degrees, so like more like the tech degrees, would there be opportunities to like I don't know, try to like maybe learn new languages, get into more frameworks, or do they have like workshops for instance, like to try and learn new things?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
So for example, there was one person who there was like the manager of Planet Sport, right? He wanted to take off a week or something at some point. He was telling us the story of how he wanted funding to pick up a qualification in some kind of management. I think it's called DICE. It's a management practice, right?
Yeah.
And so he got that funding from the company. Like, they paid for him to learn this, get this qualification. He got it for free. He managed his training, and like, they supported him to do that. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't support you to do other things as well, as long as you show that, there's value. I'll be bringing value to this, right? So with this qualification, he then started. I think he had plans to, for example, to spread that qualification out. He became a not tutor, but a trainee in the DICE qualification, and so that he can then start teaching DICE to. I think it's called DICE. I might be getting DISC.
No, DISC.
Okay. So you can teach this, DISC to the rest of the organization, right? There are other people at Riot who got training in, for example, Agile management. I mean, I'm sure you're already familiar with it in tech and stuff, but it's a management, it's a work
methodology to like software development, basically.
Exactly, and so they got people trained in this to teach other people as well, and you get a training for free. You don't have to pay for that, right? And you get to take time off, work to do it. You're not doing this on your weekends or something. They're paying you to learn it and bring value to Riot.
Oh, okay.
So they really care about you as an employee.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really good.
Financial tech industry, you work 2 years as a software developer, and then they're like, okay, you've done this for 2 years, you have to be a project manager now.
Yeah.
Like, no, but I want to do front end like work.
Other stuff,
Yeah. So how is that?
Riot is really good at this. There are so many people who transfer from localization to player support to community, and like, yeah, Riot is, I can't say for other companies, but Riot is really good at giving you opportunities to switch. That's not to say that you should go into the organization thinking I'm going to use this to switch over, but if you, while working there, you discover you really like something else, and you're able to do it, and you're really passionate, and you show that you've got determination to do well, there are opportunities for you to switch, which is really good.
Okay.
And actually, so there was a story with one of the most senior project managers, dev managers, who came to the office for, I think he's here for 6 months or something, or a year. He was originally from the LA office in America, and he told me that he started off as a I think it was like a QA, a game tester, like really entry level position in a company. And after that, he moved into quality assurance. After that, he eventually got into project management, dev management, and now he's like one of the most senior, most experienced, and like best dev managers at the company. And like I worked with him, I learned from him. This is a guy who's like really knows his stuff. He's really, really good at his job. But he didn't start in dev management. He started doing, I think it was like game test or it was like quality assurance or something like that. Yeah. So like it's a really good example of how if you really want to get in this industry, it's like if you don't get your first job, but you still want to get in the industry, just go for it. You know, if I firmly believe that at least at companies like Riot, where they really care about the person, if you show your determination to work hard at your job and to learn something else, and you show like, hey, like, you know, I'm doing all this, I'm working super hard, I'm, you know, being super productive, I'm one of the most productive people here, then you're gonna get the opportunities eventually to move up. And so, yeah.
Alright, so I'm just going to open up the floor one more time. Any more questions? Anything else?
Do you like apply for one single position when you apply for it, or did you like apply a lot of them?
Yeah, I only applied for one.
Oh, okay.
And you're allowed to apply for more than one. But let me just say from my experience talking to people working there, it's not necessarily a good idea to apply for more than one, because if you do that, you kind of show that you don't necessarily care about any one position as much, right? You kind of like, you know, spreading your eggs or whatever. I don't know what the thing is, but you're trying to like make sure you get a chance to get in, right? And that doesn't really show the right attitude that you should be for your job. So, for example, if you apply for project management, right? Like I said, the cultures are important. The people are very important. So when they take you on, you have to be very passionate and if not passionate, then you have to at least really care about what you want to do, and you have to show that, right? So I think my personal advice is to go for one, really read up on it, right? Really read up on what you want to do, really get involved with it and learn as much as you can about it. Make yourself passionate about it, right? Learn to love this job or whatever you're interested in, and go for that. And then that will that's your best case. That makes the best case for you as an applicant, rather than, oh, you know, I'm not sure about this or this and I want to apply for both or something like that. Cause that just sounds a bit weaker, right? Yeah.
Alright. Any more? Oh, Jonas, yeah.
So since Riot is quite an influential company for the esports industry, I was wondering if you could give us a glimpse of the future, or what Riot is up to, like what strategy they are pursuing, and what we can expect to happen, like where the industry is going. Like, are they concerned about growth? Are they trying to expand the scene? Are they working on a certain feature? Just like some sort of like insight
for esports
information. Yeah, about what Riot is up to.
To be honest, I don't have that much, obviously, because the esports office is in Berlin. So I didn't really get to talk to him so much. But the only thing I can say is, like, generally, I think Riot as a company believes in esports. They don't think it's like some small thing. They don't think it's some kind of money grab or something like this. They really believe that this is, you know, not necessarily the future of gaming, but like they think that this is gonna be really big, and they think that like this is something that might change the industry. So they're really supporting it, and Yeah, that's all I can. I don't want to like say too much just in case because it's quite like a inside stuff. It's the strategies and things, but yeah, I think like esports is a really big, ping on the Riot map, and they really see the potential in it, and they're ready to support it.
Yep.
In terms of League of Legends, because League of Legends is the biggest thing that do you think that League is gonna continue to grow and grow and grow, or do you see a potential of it actually at one point dropping down and stopping? So for example, a good example I would be able to give you would be RuneScape. I don't know if how many of you guys played RuneScape ages ago, but back in 2006 it was such a massive game, but as it's grown, it's become a not so much a massive game anymore. So I don't know, what do you think in that sense? Because what I mean by that is, when you want to apply for these kind of companies, you talked about the risk. So you go into the company and then within like the next few years it suddenly collapses, and then you have to start back again from scratch. And what's your view on that, since you've like worked there and seen that atmosphere?
Let me just touch on this one thing first, which is like the risk of the games industry or game failing or whatever and not having a job or something. I would say, first of all, if you're interested in the games industry, it's a risk that you take on. I think it's like a very real risk. That you're right, it's not as stable as banking or whatever like this. That's the reality. But I think that if you're really interested in this, it shouldn't matter too much to you. I think you should be willing to take that risk, because the reality is that it's look at Blizzard. It's been around for so long, right? Look at Valve. The risk is like, I don't think it should. My view is that if you are really passionate about this and you work hard and you're someone who's you really sure that you care about this, even if your company goes down, you're going to get picked up by another company. You're going to eventually move up to like a really successful and stable company. And so in that sense, like, I don't see the risk as so big. But that's my personal view. And secondly, regarding like League of Legends, I personally think that League of Legends is here to stay for a really, really long time, and that's not because of the game, right? I think that the game's popularity is a trend, and every game eventually dies down. That's not to say I think it is going to die down, or that I think that people are going to get bored of it, but rather it's what can I say about the next 10 years, right? I think it's a very good possibility that eventually, the trend in popularity for League of Legends is gonna die down, right? But I think that what's gonna keep the game relevant, for as far as I can see at least, is the esports side of it, right? When people still why does someone who's 40 years old nowadays still play League of Legends, still watch it, still get involved, right? Whereas 10 years ago, the same 30-year-old or 40-year-old wasn't getting involved in gaming or anything like this unless they were like a gamer themselves, right? I think it's the esports side of it is starting to bring some kind of new dynamic to gaming, and that's why you're seeing so many companies try to get into this, right? The way I see it is like I look at for example traditional sports like football, right? In my eyes, games and football aren't so different. They're a game at the end of the day, right? Football is still a game. People play it to enjoy it. But why have these traditional sports lasted so long? There are so many different factors. Obviously, if you play at school from 5 years old all the way through to university, schools always support this. They always when you do your PE or whatever, your fitness sessions, they always play football. They play these games. It ingrains it into you, right? But I think that the other side is also that spectator aspect of it. When you're too old to keep playing the game, you still love it. You still want to watch it. You still want to see what's going on. I think that's where esports kind of kicks in, and it's really opening the horizons for how long a game can stay around for. No matter how many games or fads comes out, as long as the professional scene is there, as long as there are still fans who have played League of Legends, have loved the game, even if you don't play it anymore, that's going to keep League of Legends around, keep this game alive.
Alright, so any more questions?
We take one
Alright.
more or something. Finish?
One more? I guess we have time for one more. Otherwise, we might just like round off now. Okay. All right.
Wait.
Oh.
So when you're making a CV, is there like a specific format you have to make, or is it you just put down everything you know? And is it like 2 pages or 1 page?
Okay, this is like a extremely UCL kind of investment banking. Oh, you've been to the grad talk. Oh, never do 1 page or stuff like this. These are small details, I think, like that don't matter so much at the at least with the right application. I don't think. I think the most important thing is to show off your skills and stuff like this. Like, I wouldn't worry too much. Make it look clean, right? Don't make some kind of terrible CV that's obviously really hard to read. And the moment I look at it, my first impression is like, oh, right. You know, make it readable. You know, still make sure you're concise with it. Don't mumble. You know, do these kind of things. But you know, 1 page or 2 pages. You know, don't go 3 pages because that's too long, obviously. But that's like, it's a small thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's not a game breaker if you have 2 pages, but when they read your CV, they're so enthralled by your experiences that they want to read onto the 2nd page.
And how is it like? Do they call you and then they bring you on face to face, or is it directly face to face?
So email, you get notification. I don't know when they're gonna reply, but you get email notification, or you got your interview this day or whatever, and then you do interviews. And
So is it by phone or
Skype.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, it's different. For me, it was 3 Skype interviews.
Yeah.
So send in CV, a cover letter, get through that round.
Yeah.
First general interview, talking about your CV and experience and stuff like this. Get through that round. Then my first PM interview. Then I had my 2nd PM interview. These are all Skype. And then I had the on-site. And the on-site is not just PM. Like I talked to senior management. You know, everyone in the company wants to talk to you. I talked to the community manager. Even if it's not related to profession, that's where when they start considering you as a serious applicant, they want to make sure that you fit into the culture. So they make sure that you work well with the other departments and everyone else that you're going to be working with.
Is it tough, the interviews? Is it stressful? What was your...
I really enjoyed it. Are they tough? Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Even when I had tough questions or whatever, it was just really fun. And so the reason why is because it's just exciting when you're talking to, you know, rioters, you're talking to people who, you know, work on this game. Yeah, it's epic. And throughout every stage for me, I always have the mindset of, even if I fail, this was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed this interview. I enjoyed the next interview. And it's not easy, but it's enjoyable.
It's all about the mindset, I guess.
Yeah.
If you just go with that open mindset of, you know, I'm having this experience, so whatever comes out of it comes out of it, then
It's actually a technical term for it. It's called the growth mindset, and then there's another term called the fixed mindset. So Google it and you'll see. But that's pretty much what you're talking about, the growth mindset.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And they mentioned this as well when you do Agile training. Riot is a very Agile company. If you apply, I really recommend, no matter what position you look up Agile, look up how Riot does Agile. Really get familiar with it, because it seeps into every corner of the culture and how you work there. And that's exactly it. It's to how do you have a growth mindset? How do you when you have failures, how do you learn from it, right? Rather than backing away from it next time. It's really important.
So another note about Agile, it's for anyone who still doesn't know what Agile is, so it's really been taken up by almost every company nowadays, because the main reason for that is because it works. Once you take it on, you find that you complete your projects, you're more likely to complete your projects on time, meet deadlines, and it's a really good way of actually delivering on what you actually set out to do. So one guy who'd go into a closet for 3 years, isolate himself, work on something for 2 years, then so instead of doing everything all at once, it's done feature by feature, and then you can, and after doing each feature, you can then look at it and then iterate, see, oh, so I've done what I want to give to like the crowd and whatever, and that's it.
Generally, it's the iterative approach.
Yeah, it's an iterative approach.
So yeah, it's to make sure that every week, if you haven't completed your project, but you've written some kind of document, you contact something, you review, you see how you went, see how you can improve, and you will move on to your next block of what you need to do, and you do the same process. And yeah, at Riot, they've taken the Agile kind of methodology to apply to the whole company, right? So not just in development, but project management, community work, like everything that you do.
If you're applying for a tech role, I'd recommend really practicing technical interviews. I think most big companies nowadays employ technical interviews for like a lot of their computer science roles or engineering roles or anything that to do with like programming. So working on like technical interviews, I guess practicing coding questions, trying to reduce maybe the most like so I guess algorithms, data structures, usual kind of computer science like first year stuff, and then or second year stuff. Then that would really help.
Do you have anything to add to this, Jonas? Because you've done quite a few. You've done quite a few tech interviews, right?
Oh yeah. It's actually like it's a skill in itself to be able to solve interview questions. And it's not even really related to your work later. It's kind of like a semi-standardized test sort of, and it's quite similar and like across different employees.
Yeah, I mean technical interviews aren't exactly probably the best way of like testing for someone's programming skill, but I mean it's what we have nowadays, so it's just what we do.
Let me just jump into here to say that when you do it for Riot, the InfoSec internship at least, when he did his kind of technical interview, right? Like there was I remember my friend Hale, he's the intern who did it, telling me that there was a point when he got to a question that he just couldn't answer. He just didn't understand the coding, and he didn't understand methodology. He straight up said, I don't know what I can do. I can't answer this question. And he said to me specifically that in his interview, it's inevitable that you eventually get to a point where you can't answer it, because they continually ask harder and harder questions until you get to a point where, in a high pressure situation, you come up with a problem. And that's what they're trying to test, at least at Riot. That's what they're trying to put you into. The situation of when you're faced with a problem that you cannot solve, that you do not have that knowledge in, how do you deal with that? And like he got through. He told me that when he did his interview, he was sure that he'd failed. He couldn't answer it at all, right? And like he went home thinking, okay, this is the end of my road. But he got through because of how he answered in terms of how he wanted to deal with this problem when you can't solve something. And it's just as important to think about when you do have problems, because in reality, when you work, you do have things that other people have not learned before. Especially if you're working at a company that's at the forefront of what they're doing, you're always going to be breaking new boundaries. You're not always going to be learning from what others are doing. You're going to be doing it yourself. You're discovering new ways of things.
Because it is quite tough. I mean, sometimes even if it's not the question itself, it's the anticipation that you're meant to answer it quickly or with a certain amount of time. So once you start to the first moment that you start to take a pause to analyze, you're like, oh dear, I'm taking way too long on this question. So I guess it's just practicing that skill to just really calmly analyze the question and then go through and then try, and then also talking about it as well. That's a skill in itself, talking as you're doing, because not many people are used to talking as they work. So anyway, if there aren't any more pressing questions, I guess you'll still be able to talk to Dan afterwards. Let's just so I just give a round of applause to Dan for and I guess that's it. We're done with our hour, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to post that on the group so that everyone else in the Facebook group can see. And that's it. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, thanks guys.